After Carmageddon, expect more traffic on the 405 and surrounding areas as crews rebuild the bridge's north side. Crews must also fill in a 10-mile carpool lane gap. They're trying to build the nation's largest connecting HOV lane between the San Fernando Valley and Orange County. Caltrans officials have no exact completion dates for all this. It's best to check their website often and plan ahead for any possible lane closures. Off the Sepulveda Pass, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
You can receive updates on construction and lane closures on all Southland freeways by logging on to dot.ca.gov. It's one of the byproducts of 9/11. Every year, the federal government hands out Urban Area Security Initiative grants. It's money that will help shore up LA's preparedness in case of disasters and terror attacks. Anna Marcos has more.
The 9/11 memorial seemed a fitting place to announce the $61 million in funds that the LA region is getting from the Department of Homeland Security to make LA and Long Beach safer in the case of a mass disaster.
Safety doesn't happen by accident. Here in a hotbed of natural calamities and terrorist targets, our first responders and regional agencies never have an off-season. We have a commitment to be perpetually prepared.
Besides getting its share of earthquakes, wildfires, and natural disasters, the LA region is also home to some 3,000 potential terror targets. The federal government's Urban Area Security Initiative grant was born in the wake of 9/11. So far, LA region has received more than $600 million to make itself more disaster-proof. The funds have gone towards training and equipment for first responders, as well as a cutting-edge Joint Regional Intelligence Center.
We needed a Joint Regional Intelligence Center. We put that plan together, and it has now been operating for about 7 years. It is the most successful interoperable system when it comes to intelligence gathering.
Every resource that's sitting out here today is for a very specialty type hazard.
We can do building collapse, industrial injuries, auto extrication. We have the ability to do light water rescue.
The money really has allowed us to grow as a department.
You're looking at about $1 million worth of equipment. This hazmat truck is just one of many gadgets that earlier funding years have paid for. You're seeing your tax dollars at work. Whether it's sledgehammers, police bomb squad trucks, or fire hazmat squads, the state-of-the-art equipment and the first responders who use it are helping to keep us all a little safer. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The LA region has been getting the Urban Area Security Initiative grant every year since 2003. And locally, one councilman's office has found a way to beef up police resources in several police stations in these tough economic times. He did so by doing a lot of belt tightening and digging into his own district coffers. Here again is Anna Marcos reporting from the LAPD Topanga Division Station.
This is an LAPD officer's dream, a wish list of the latest high-tech crime-fighting weapons and gadgets. And Councilmember Dennis Zine provided the $200,000 in discretionary funds to help police do their job better out in the field. Training guns, long-range binoculars, vests, night vision goggles, emergency equipment, and more.
Something occurs in this area, and it's going to take about an hour or so for downtown to respond. Once they get the equipment prepared, this gives us immediate response, whether it's an earthquake or a suspect, and we know that a lot of crazy things are happening, so we want to have this division prepared to respond. The old days where you'd surround the building and wait for SWAT team to arrive, that's not the way it is anymore.
The money for all this equipment is being split between 3 Valley divisions, Topanga, West Valley, and the Valley Traffic Division.
These are our outer ballistic vests, and they just open up and just slip on like a jacket.
This piece of equipment, it can be used to bash the door. This is probably about 35 pounds. And occasionally we have narcotic suspects, and they really don't want us to get in there because if they can secure their location before we get in, they can flush all the narcotics down the toilet. So this helps us to get in more quickly.
Councilmember Dennis Zine seems especially taken with one high-tech toy, a tiny adjustable camera that can see through cracks and behind doors.
Instead of me going over and exposing myself, this is what we can use. So you have an apartment building with a shooter. Before you run in, and there's the shooter, You use this to find out. It's safe, it's secure, and then you can go.
City leaders hope the money spent here has bought not only more equipment, but a lot more safety for both officers and the community. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Councilman Zine says he runs his office on such a tight budget that he was able to save enough to install surveillance cameras worth $700,000 in high crime areas in his district. Those cameras should go up in December. And money is also being infused this time into local schools to help keep kids in school. Cindy San Luis reports.
AT&T, realized that we really needed to do something special to help partner with public education, to really work to make a difference.
And so, AT&T recently donated $600,000 in grants dedicated to help increase graduation rates to Proyecto Pastoral and Partnership for Los Angeles Schools. The donation was delivered at Mendez Learning Center in East LA. Proyecto Pastoral, a community building organization, serves over 2,500 students in Boyle Heights.
Good to see you guys.
The Partnership for Los Angeles Schools, started by LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, serves nearly 16,500 students across 22 schools.
One of the most important issues of our time is public education, to ensure that young people like you have the opportunity to succeed.
Partnership for Los Angeles Schools and Proyecto Pastoral were chosen because of their innovative programming and inspiring results. And we are honored to partner with them in ensuring that youth have the tools for a better tomorrow.
Both programs focus on early intervention with at-risk students and provide a variety of support, education, and training programs that encourage students to remain in school and graduate.
No, we absolutely believe in each one of you, and we believe in the power of this neighborhood.
Every time I've called on AT&T to partner with our community, they have been there.
And with the generosity of AT&T, these programs can continue to help today's youth become the leaders of tomorrow. I'm Cindy San Luis for LA This Week.
AT&T has donated over $4.5 million in grants in the LA area this year. A local business supports a recreation center in need of refurbishment, but this business is offering more than just a check. Rasha Goel has more.
Over 150 volunteers came out to be part of the Big Give 2012, which will help with the revitalization of Denker Recreation Center in South Los Angeles.
The City of Los Angeles Recreation and Parks Department has over 435 parks in our system, and today one of them has been adopted through the Los Angeles Parks Foundation Adopt a Park program.
The Denker Recreation Center has been adopted by Thomas Safran and Associates, a developer of affordable housing projects. This donation to help the center is part of their annual company-wide service project known as Big Give, which was started 5 years ago.
This year we decided to go with parks. And parks is such an important part of a community, to have a safe, clean place for children to come and play.
But sadly, just days before this event, a teenager who was also a volunteer with Recreation and Parks Anti-Gang Program was killed while hanging out at the nearby Harvard Park, also in South LA.
This young man, Patrick, he came to our park at 11 and 12 and got into our Class Park Teen program that David here at this park runs. And he had been in our program for 7 years. And he went on field trips. He got integrated, and he stayed out of gangs.
But Rec and Parks officials say, more than ever, ensuring our city's parks are safe is of utmost priority. And back at Denker Recreation Center, volunteers roll up their sleeves to fix the baseball field, plant trees, create community gardens, and enhance rooms. It truly is a community effort. In fact, these toys and different items that you see behind me were donated by residents who live in low-income housing that was built by Thomas Safran and Associates.
It's almost impossible to explain the amazing feeling anyone can feel to help someone else. I myself come from low income, and this is how I got to meet TSA, Thomas Safran and Associates, and it's just a great thing to see how they give back to the community.
When this day is over, we're going to see some real improvements at this park.
Improvements that will leave a positive impact on the neighboring community. From South Los Angeles, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
And we have more on that shooting at Harvard Park in South LA. Also, some student musicians get a day named in their honor, and no more parking meters after 6 p.m. in One Valley neighborhood. These stories and more in City Beat. Councilmember Bernard Parks has announced a $50,000 reward for information that helps solve the murder of 19-year-old Patrick Carruthers. Carruthers, a student at LA Trade Technical College, was sitting on a park bench at Tatum Harvard Park in South LA on September 25th, listening to music, when police say a man approached him and shot him multiple times in the back.
My son did not deserve to die this way. He was innocent. He never saw it coming.
Carruthers had volunteered at the park and was later hired to the Summer Night Lights anti-gang program. At Parks' urging, the city council approved the installation of security cameras at the park.
I, Jonathan Nguyen.
I, Jonathan Nguyen.
Having been appointed ensign.
A special swearing-in ceremony inside council chambers as Jonathan Nguyen was sworn in by his Navy captain as a junior officer of the United States Navy.
On behalf of the Navy, we'd like to present this to you. Now, Ensign Nguyen.
The special swearing-in ceremony was arranged by Councilman Eric Garcetti, who is a member of Nguyen's Navy unit. Councilmember Bill Rosendahl and his council colleagues proclaimed Mark Twain Bellringer Day in the city of Los Angeles during a special council presentation last week. The recognition is in honor of the 22 student musicians from the Venice area middle school who served as ambassadors at the London Olympics, where they were invited to perform at several venues, including at Olympic Park, Southwark Park, and Hyde Park. Councilman Rosendahl, together with recording artist Johnny Orion, spearheaded an online fundraising campaign that helped close the gap on the $100,000 the students needed for the trip. Councilmember Tony Cardenas has introduced a motion to reduce parking restrictions along Van Nuys Boulevard in an effort to help more local businesses thrive and remain competitive. The motion asks that meter parking times be changed from the current hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. along the Van Nuys Civic Center commercial corridor. Business owners had complained that metered parking that lasted until 8 p.m. discouraged potential customers from patronizing their businesses. He's not just any old mariachi singer. The city of Los Angeles recently honored a late singer whose music has sold millions and millions of copies and whose roots trace back here to Los Angeles. Hundreds who gathered at the El Pueblo Historical Monument for the El Grito Mexican Independence concert also got to witness the unveiling of a statue honoring the late Mexican-born mariachi singer and actor Antonio Aguilar. Immortalized in bronze, Aguilar is depicted in this 13-foot statue wearing a mariachi costume atop a horse.
Antonio Aguilar, Don Antonio, is the John Wayne of Mexico.
In addition to appearing in movies, the Mexican John Wayne, Antonio Aguilar, recorded more than 150 albums and sold more than 25 million copies before he passed away in 2007. He still holds the distinct honor of being the only Latino artist to sell out for 6 nights in a row at New York's Madison Square Garden.
He actually also opened up the doors to many more Mexican artists who came after him. Was the first Mexican artist to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Councilmember Jose Huizar and Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa spoke Spanish to the predominantly Spanish-speaking crowd as they greeted fans awaiting the El Grito concert and congratulated the Aguilar family on the special occasion. Huizar spoke of Aguilar's humble beginnings when he was known to have spent time on Olvera Street as a youngster working in local restaurants.
He slept 3 nights here at Placita Olvera. So this is to honor him, to honor his family, and to honor the American dream, that all is possible when one works hard, puts their mind to it, is dedicated.
Today, Aguilar's legacy is continued by his son, Antonio Jr., and the countless number of fans who continue to play and enjoy his music. The project was 5 years in the making. The statue stands in the small plaza south of El Pueblo's administrative offices facing Union Station. In this week's list of things to do, an inaugural film festival, an AIDS walk, and rail-volution. The inaugural San Pedro International Film Festival is taking place Friday, October 12th to Sunday, October 14th. The festival is organized in partnership with the Croatian Cultural Center of Greater Los Angeles and the City of LA's Department of Cultural Affairs. The inaugural SPIFF, as it's being called, will present new films including narrative features, foreign films, documentaries, and student works. Venues include Warner Grand Theater in San Pedro, as well as Terra Cinemas in Rancho Palos Verdes. More info can be found at spifffest.org. Sunday, October 14th is AIDS Walk LA 2012. Sign-in is at 8:30 a.m. with the opening ceremony at 9:15 and the walk stepping off at 10 a.m. The 10-kilometer or 6.2-mile AIDS Walk Los Angeles will start and end in West Hollywood. Enter at Melrose and San Vicente Avenues. Details can be found at aidswalk.net/Los Angeles. And Metro is hosting what it's calling the Railvolution event from Sunday, October 14th to Wednesday, October 17th at the Loews Hollywood Hotel at 1755 North Highland Avenue in Hollywood. This national conference is an opportunity for you to join with people from across the country to engage in thoughtful discussion about building livable communities with transit. Meet citizen activists, transit operators, government officials, and more who are dedicated to creating environmentally sustainable communities with transit. Go to railvolution.org to register. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. There are more than 3 million people who are deaf or hard of hearing in California, with more than a quarter of that population here in Los Angeles County. Cindy San Luis explains how an annual event is helping to educate the hearing community.
Thousands of people gathered on the City Hall lawn for the 9th annual Deaf Festival. In Los Angeles County alone, there are almost 900,000 residents who are deaf or hard of hearing.
Well, I think it's really important to be able to communicate to other people.
Saying, hey, sometimes we should be aware that some people may be deaf and hard of hearing, and how can we support them?
The event has grown over the years and is held every September during Deaf Awareness Month in Los Angeles.
We are here because Councilmember Tony Cardenas has taken an interest in making sure we continue the tradition of supporting the Deaf Awareness Month.
This is the first time the festival, which is normally held in Van Nuys, is taking place in downtown LA.
Now that it's here in the middle of the city, it can actually pull more people in from, other parts further south, further east, and I think it's just symbolic that it's here in front of our iconic symbol of the seat of democracy, and so I think it's fantastic that they're here.
Deaf people are your neighbors and your friends and your family, so you never know who a deaf person is, so just say hello.
The event is also a way to celebrate the advocates and volunteers who donate their time to help those that are deaf or hard of hearing. The Greater Los Angeles Council on Deafness, also known as GLAD, offers many social services for the deaf community. Aside from bringing service providers and advocacy groups together, the festival offers a forum to showcase the talents and achievements of those in the deaf community. Deaf performers Michael Anthony Spady and Evelina Gaina were recognized for serving as sources of inspiration and as mentors to deaf individuals.
Continue what you're doing, and we will continue to strive.
You all have the talents and skills to fulfill your dreams. Whatever you desire, do it. Go for it. Don't ever give up.
And participants were ready to do so, with a Deaf Got Talent competition and Deaf Model Fashion Show providing entertainment throughout the day. From outside City Hall, I'm Cindy San Luis for LA This Week.
For more information on Deaf Festival, you can visit deaffestivalLA.org. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
got you something very special for our first anniversary. Now close your eyes. Surprise! It's an emergency preparedness kit. Isn't it great? It's got food, water, first aid kit, and this neat emergency tool for shutting off utilities. Honey, we are going to be prepared for any emergency. Honey? Sweetie, I have one more surprise. This really cool cranking flashlight.
Get the message, be prepared.
Hi, I'm Kevin from Chatsworth, offering you a taste of New Orleans since 1986. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Okay, good morning. I want to welcome everyone to your Los Angeles City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, October 9th. Madam Clerk, I believe we have a quorum. If you could please call the roll.
Alarcon, Buscaino, Cardenas, Englander, Garcetti, Weezer, Carres, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zine, Wesson. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Alarcon moves. Correct seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Zine moves. Krikorian seconds. Where does that bring us? To the flag salute?
Yes, Mr. President.
I would like to ask that everybody in the chambers please rise for the salute of our flag, led by Mr. Zine.
Place your hand over your heart. Ready to begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank you, Mr. Zine. At this point in time, Madam Clerk, why don't we quickly go through the agenda, starting off with our first section. What is that, 1 through 4?
Items 1 through 4 are items noticed for public hearing. The Department of Building and Safety requests to reduce the lien amount for item 4E to $4,560.51 due to the receipt of a partial payment.
Okay, without objection.
Also, there's a request to continue items 4F and H to October 23rd.
Without objection. Do you have cards on these items?
Cards on item 4.
Okay, let's hold 4. On the remaining items, members?
Excuse me, Mr. President, a motion is required for item 2.
Item 2, okay, I'll make the motion. Mr. Zine, a second. So
Excuse me, the motion either needs to be to deny or to grant the application. Do you wish to hold that on the desk, Mr. President?
Yes, let's hold that on the desk until we sort out what we want to do with that. And let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next section.
Items 5 through 8 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Members special, Mr. Zine.
Continue to Friday, please.
Okay.
And 7 special.
Item 5, continue to Friday. Madam Clerk, that date is?
October 12th.
Okay, members, any other specials on these items? Mr. Buscaino, 6. Mr. Zine? 7. Okay, let's vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, next section.
Items 9 through 25 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consent.
Without objection, those items are now before us. Do we have any cards on these items?
Cards on items 9, 22, and 10, 22, and 24.
Okay. Let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Specials members, seeing and hearing none, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, I'd like to locate first Mr. Labange for a couple of quick presentations today. Mr. Labange, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're going to gather right here with the great team of officers from Newton area, the great team of officers with the Department of Transportation, and we have a special recognition as we all get together, our International Walk to School Day. I walked to school. I walked to Ivanhoe School. I walked to King Middle School. I walked to John Marshall High School. And it was so special to do that. And today, on behalf of Miss Perry, Jan Perry, the great councilwoman of the 9th, we're going to recognize 3 schools. The Accelerated School, which is right there.
Susan Rodley.
And Susan Rodley.
And Jonathan Williams.
And Jonathan Williams, who's one of our commissioners for the Parks Commission. Jonathan, very good. Main Street School.
Main Street.
Right here.
We have Elizabeth Bernal.
All right, Elizabeth Bernal. And also we finally have here Trinity Street School.
Martha Jevanois.
All right, Martha, it's so good to have you. These are the people who are the leaders of the school that get everybody going the right way, but it doesn't happen unless they get great community support. Newton area has always been, as Mr. Garcetti will tell you, one of those divisions is very proactive in the community, proactive in a variety of ways. And Lieutenant Jones, I just want to salute, because I think my wife loves you more than me some days for what you do for safety for children throughout Los Angeles. Lieutenant Jones and the team from DOT come up with advanced strategies, because it is a very much of a mega activity area around a school, and unless there's some order and control, there's a chance for an accident. I'd like to also call on this very special deputy for Ms. Perry for a quick remark.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to welcome everyone to council this morning, and on behalf of Councilwoman Perry, my beloved friends behind me, Newton Division, our brilliant educators, Department of Transportation, they save lives every day. And I want to thank you again.
Pamela Hartoon, thank you very much for that as well. And also for the Department of Transportation, if you want to give a few remarks. I know it's been a while since we saw each other.
Well, thank you, Council. I want to thank everybody for giving us the opportunity to promote the Safe Routes to School International Walk to School Day. It's important that we all actively get involved, and we acknowledge Councilman Perry, Garcetti, and everybody who has been helping and supporting this program. Thank you again for all your support.
And Susan, you want to speak? And Jonathan, I want you to say a few words.
Good morning, Council. I wanted to just thank you so much for your support as a principal at Public Charter School. We depend on all of your support, and we're very grateful to Jan Perry, to the LA Department of Transportation, and of course to Officer Jones.
Lieutenant Jones.
Lieutenant Jones, excuse me.
I know, good. Yeah, let's say if he was for Trinity, right? Main Street.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you. In our community, pedestrian safety is a huge concern. I've been there for 3 months, and in that time, we've already had about 3 accidents that have affected us. So this is an event that is much needed. So thank you very much.
Well, I just wanted to thank everybody. I remember when I was a child, I was crossing Rosemead Boulevard. First car stopped in a crosswalk. Second car didn't. I got hit by the car, and I hurt my arm pretty bad. The car kept going, and then a Good Samaritan saw me and my brothers looking at bikes through a window, and then they said, "This kid's got a bad arm. What happened?" And that's what happened. I wasn't smart enough. Awareness around crossings at schools, so important. And I learned from that lesson, but now we're in a very professional way with the great support of Newton area and our senior leads and the great leadership of Lieutenant Jones and the field team from DOT. Mr. President, let's salute this great group of people.
Let's give them a round of applause. They deserve it.
I'm going to go back, and I'll be back in a minute. Thank you so much. We did it fast. Good job. Thank you. Good to see you. You betcha. Give me a shot. I'm going to see you. Oh, you betcha. Oh, good. Super. Thank you. Hey, have you guys been? Hey, Leonard, hold on a second. Have you been to Falmouth City Hall? No. You guys think it's good? That's all you didn't speak, but you got the best bag in the world. And you got to see the Falmouth City Hall. Good to see you. Lisa. Very good. Mr. President, may I have permission to make one more special presentation? This is Tanya and Phil Hart. Phil Hart, I've known for many years, and Tanya's daughter lives in the Silver Lake District, and Phil and Tanya live in the Los Feliz Oaks area, great friends. Phil and I are friends. Phil went to college with Steve Sable at NFL Films. We have this long history going on, and as a very special man as far as his work in urban planning and good neighborhoods and good cities, he wanted to make sure we recognize a very special day, Mr. Orloff, that your paper should take note of. On this day, 80 years ago, the 9th of October in 1932, James Herman Banning, then a 25-year-old ace mechanic, and Thomas C. Allen completed the first transcontinental flight by African-American pilots. They left Los Angeles and they flew across the country in a biplane and landed in New York City. They completed on the 9th. They left on the 19th of September. Right. It's hard to believe it took that long, as flights today now are 5 hours to New York. but it took almost 20 days plus. The team called themselves the Flying Hobos because they raised financial backing along the way to complete this transcontinental flight. As they progressed across the country, they caught the attention of various black-owned newspapers that would have a keen interest in pioneering flights. The readership grew, as did the public interest on this successful transcontinental journey. On the last leg of the flight from Pittsburgh to Long Island, the Democratic Party paid Banning and Allen to drop FDR campaign material flyers from the air, thus became the first pilots to carry campaign material for a presidential campaign from the air. All this happened and took such a special place that in 1982, the Smithsonian Institute and National Air and Space Museum opened the exhibit Black Wings. The exhibit showed how one group of Americans overcame enormous obstacles to break into the aviation area. African Americans shared their universal dream of flight, like all. But for almost 50 years after the Wright brothers' historic flight in 1903, racial discrimination denied black Americans access to the important sphere of technology. Through this time, it has created an opportunity for others to follow. So I wanted to ask that we salute this by the adoption of this resolution, that the City Council congratulate the James Herman Banning and Thomas C. Allen on their 80th anniversary of this historic transcontinental flight for this commendation. And we also want to salute all who've been involved in supporting awareness of the great history of African Americans in our country and in the many things that they do. And Phil, before I present this to you, I'd like you to say a few words, because as you know, you have such a keen love of history. And Mr. President, I have love of history, and I think it helps us understand what went on before, that we never forget the past.
Thank you, Tom. I want to acknowledge Bill Rosendahl just entered the chamber.
Phil Hart.
October 9th is a big day in Los Angeles for the Mexican community and the African American community. On October 9th, 1932, David Alfaro Seguero's American Tropical was unveiled. It's being rededicated today, October 9th. October 9th, 1932, my mother's uncle, James Herman Banning, and his mechanic, Thomas C. Allen, took off from East Side Airport on Whittier Boulevard, headed for New York to become the first black pilots to fly transcontinental. They landed at Valley Stream Airfield, Long Island, New York, on October 9th, 1932. So you can see that October 9th was a significant day as I look at the representation on this council in terms of the representation from the Mexican American community, the representation from the African American community. October 9th, 1932 was a big day in LA. It was a big day because Seguero's American Tropical was unveiled, because Banning landed in Long Island. It's a big day today because we're recognizing both these individuals who come from Mexican and African American heritage. And I want to thank you, and I want to thank my councilman, Tom LaBonge, particularly.
Now, Phil,
thank you, sir. Thank you.
What we really got to realize, how special Los Angeles is, because it's the birthplace of so much opportunity. And when you say that on that date, some 80 years ago, Joe, that someone left here, and there were airfields out there by Atlantic Boulevard and Whittier Boulevard, and there were airfields all around Southern California, because aviation was part of our heritage. So this is so great that you brought this to our attention. Let's give Tanya and Phil Hart a big hand and thank them and remember this great day in history.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Madam Clerk, it's my understanding it's been recommended that item 2 be continued. Can we continue that until next Tuesday, or?
Yes, Mr. President, that would be until October 16th.
Okay, and I have a couple of cards on item 4. If I could get Mr. Sachs, Arnold Sachs, and Chaka Booker to please come forward on item 4. Mr. Arnold Sachs and Mr. Booker. If whoever gets to the mic first can go.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Arnold Sachs. Again, I'm asking about this Building and Safety Department report for nuisance abatement costs and/or noncompliance of code violations and the annual inspection costs. Again, I bring to the point, and I'm sure you know, when are you going to act on your foreclosure ordinance that has you citing properties that are in disrepair, properties that are not viable, that are bank owned, that are supposed to be paying $1,000 a day to the city? It's been approximately 6 months that you put that ordinance in effect. How many homes have been issued citations regarding their status? 0. That's a hell of a batting average.
Yes, Mr. Booker.
Thank you. I have a request. I'm not sure if this is the right place to do it, but there's a proposed lien on 1420 West Florence Avenue. I started making a payment on that lien just recently to Charles, sent him a money order, Charles Kalibala. The request is if that amount can be reduced. It currently includes late penalties and fees. The reason I'm asking for a reduction of those late penalties and fees is because I never received the orders to comply or the non-compliance orders when I took over the property in 2009. The address change was never made with Building and Safety, and they kept sending these documents to the former owner. So she was getting the documentation, I wasn't. If I'd received it, I would have paid it on time. So I don't have an issue paying the fee. I want to pay the fee, but it would make it much easier if the late penalties and any fees associated with it being late can be reduced or waived. I've already started paying on it and don't have any problem paying it, but that's the request.
Okay, why don't you stay there for a second and let me call the department in and see what where are you with this, and does it make sense for you to continue it?
Yeah, morning, Council. My name is Charles Kalibala. Yeah, I've been talking to Mr. Chakabuka for the past 2 weeks. He sent me a payment. He sent us a payment of $500 last week, which we credited, and we've reduced the amount to $4,950. But his insistence that he shouldn't pay the penalties, the department doesn't accept it, and we should continue for 2 weeks while we talk to him and we talk to the council member himself.
Okay, why don't we do that, Mr. Booker? We will grant you a 2-week continuance, and the department will chat with you and also the council member for that area. So, Madam Clerk, if we continue this for 2 weeks, that would be on what day?
It's October 23rd.
Did you hear that, Mr. Booker?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you again.
All right.
All right. Don't we still have some of the items under 4 to vote on?
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay, so on those items, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, let's go now to item 9. Donna Pearman. Donna, please come forward. And is that Stephen?
Okay.
Help me.
Yeah, this one's a real easy one. I don't see how we got these parking lot violations, citation refunds over here. So it shows that you don't know how to run the city when you can't even figure out how to get the refunds over to the people who are supposedly probably shouldn't have got the parking violation in the first place. The only thing if I can see why they would get a refund in the first place. In the meantime, you also don't even pick up the parking fines that are due you. So and that you closed down our Van Nuys video conferencing, and you can't even get these items. So, you got to get your act together. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, Stephen, I think it's Stephen Johnson or Stephen John, followed by John Walsh. Mr. Walsh on item 9. And do I have this Stephen John or Stephen Johnson or Stephen?
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Google John Walsh and innocence of Muslims worldwide, and you will find 80,000 entries, all mentioning my appearance here in front of the City Council on the anti-Semitic picture. On this, since it doesn't concern your virulent anti-Semitism on this board, in particular self-haters like Garcetti, I will support it. I support the parking. Anybody but Garcetti for mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you, Mr. President. Does that complete the comments?
I cannot seem to find Mr. John or Mr. Johnson, Stephen or Stephen. So, yes, it concludes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, simply stated, the city from time to time escheats money that it is not able to locate the rightful owner of. And in these cases, when there's a parking violation and an amount is paid by a citizen, and then that matter is appealed and the parking violation is found to have been incorrect or the payment was found to be incorrect, the city refunds the amount that's owed. In some circumstances, that amount can't be returned because the person has been moved, there's no forwarding address, the check is never cashed, or for whatever other reason, the money stays with the city. State law provides pretty minimal requirements on the city in terms of notification. So there's a publication requirement which the city meets, but my view was that the city should take an extra step to try to identify the rightful owners of this money before we just take it into the general fund through escheatment. And so what this motion would do would explore the creation of a searchable database, much like the state has now for monies that are due to people, so that somebody who maybe had a parking violation years ago can identify that there may be money owed to them before we simply take that money into the general fund. So this starts that process, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Okay. On that item, Madam Clerk, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now I want to do item 10. I want to call Mr. Arnold Sachs and John Walsh to come forward on item 10.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again. Arnold Sachs. Another item. First of all, I'd be interested to find out in item number 10, this is how much the South Bay Workforce Investment Board deals with the Valley and deals with East LA as far as finding appropriate uses for this funding. Just by its very terminology, the South Bay Workforce Investment Board seems to be focused in the South Bay. So to give them total control of all this funding doesn't seem to make sense. Is there a board that oversees, again, the Valley in the city of LA and East LA? Seem to be areas that could use that kind of assistance. And secondly, regarding this item, I am really impressed with the breakdown as far as the funding transfers go. Item F mentions salary as needed. Item account number 1070, $10. That's some real, must have cost $11 to print that up. And item H, printing and binding, $863. It's very impressive when you can pinpoint those certain amount of monies, but yet come up here and ask about AB 1290 funds, have no idea. And the rolled over redevelopment funding, over $400 million, that would have been a yearly amount. Have no idea. But you need to know where $10 in salaries go? Check this agenda. It's right here. Want to find out where less than $900 goes for binding? Check this agenda. It's right here. A couple of $100 million? Got no idea.
Next speaker, Mr. John Wall. Mr. John Walsh.
Not even out of breath. I don't want to waste a second of the council's time. Time is money. Yes, I don't vamp. I don't just look at an item and then out of that top of my head attack it. This is a good item. You're doing an excellent job on this particular issue. HollywoodHighlands.org, or just Google John Walsh and anybody but Garcetti for mayor.
Thank you very much. One speaker on the queue, Mr. Garcetti.
And thank you to our public for the comments as well, as always. This, colleagues, is reprogramming or some monies that's come to us from the federal government as we're looking at dislocated workers right now. This is critical money for us to get those dislocated workers back to work, to help people retrain. And thank you to the Mayor's office for working on this, and our Workforce Investment Board, who's really been focusing on careers in specific sectors. In the past, we used to take people's resumes, just kind of help them with that, look through some want ads, and send them out the door, and we check that off as a helped worker. Now it's been much more strategic to look at healthcare, security, hospitality industry, construction, green jobs, and other places where we can make a real impact and put people back to work. So as Chair of Jobs Committee asked for your support in this today, there's no more important job for us right now than getting people back to work, and this will be a great partnership building on that. Thank you to our, I think I saw Greg Irish somewhere around here from the Workforce Investment Board as well. Oh, there he is. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your leadership, Mr. Garcetti. No other speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Okay, now we're going to go to general public comment. Sean Murphy, where's Sean? Jump up here, Sean. Followed by Richard Eastman and Donna Perlman.
Good morning, Mr. President. I have a suggestion. Why don't you get Van Nuys City Council open? The rains are coming. People can't come down here when it's flooded.
Thank you, Sean.
Distinguished Council of Los Angeles, especially my friend Bill Rosenthal, the citizens of Los Angeles, my name is Richard Eastman, former HIV/AIDS Commissioner for the County of Los Angeles, a person living with AIDS for 17 years, who has fought for civil rights and the Hollywood sign in 1978, and about 10 years ago, I tried to make Hollywood a city when secession happened, and many thousands of people voted for me. Well, today, I'm declaring my candidacy for the 13th Council District, along with 19 or 20 other people, on March 5th, 2013, and on November 5th, I will pull the 1,000 petitions and pay the $300 fee and collect the 500 signatures necessary to place my name on the ballot with these other 19 community activists. And I'm asking the citizens of Hollywood and the 13th Council District to consider a man that came to Los Angeles in 1976, was in the motion picture industry, worked for the Western Costume Company, helped Mayor Tom Bradley and the LA Times and Alice Cooper and Hugh Hefner save the Hollywood sign, almost died from AIDS about 5 times, opened the very first medical marijuana cannabis buyers club in Los Angeles in 1996. And my name is Richard Eastman, and I'm running for the Los Angeles City Council, the 13th Council District in Hollywood, March 5th, 2013. And Bill, I'm here to welcome you back and some of these council members and the people of Los Angeles know me, and if I'm elected or if I'm in the runoff and we have to come back in May, you might have to vote for me again. But I'm going to give it a try. I didn't go to college. I'm a simple man. I'm on Social Security, and I'm going to give half of my salary to feeding the homeless outside of City Hall every day I'm in office. My name is Richard Eastman for LA City Council, Council District 13. Thank you.
Richard, a little tip. Richard, a little tip. Help the people in the 13th if you go for it. This is not the 13th.
Well,
Thank you
I've been
very
helping
much.
the people of
You
the
got
state
it.
of
You got it. I
California
like it, Richard. I'm
and
just
Los
giving you a
Angeles.
tip because I know you like you. Thank you very much. Richard, I'm looking to ask for Donna Perriman. Donna not here right now. Here, Donna. Here we go. Donna Perriman.
I'm here. Okay, I want to say, first of all, only Garcetti for mayor. Anyway, they got rid of our video conferencing, so I couldn't tell you that the unions need to negotiate their own terms. I want the voters to know that the politicians want more money off the backs of the middle and lower class and they want to give it to the rich. That's why they closed down our video conferencing, so it would be hard to tell you, the people out there. The BICA's destroying the private industry and they're getting rid of the pensions. So these executives want to do the same to the public services. They get rid of the private industry pensions and they want to do the same to the public services. But it's the politicians, the way they misspend the money, that they should be after. We need to have the pension reform on the unions' terms. Vote. We don't want to vote yes for the pension reform on the politicians' terms, but on the unions. Over there, they're discriminating against women because they're discriminating on the three women in Van Nuys, Miriam, myself, and Sharon Brewer. And I wanted to tell you a last thing, that nobody is going to want to work for Los City if you don't give good benefits. So you got to keep good benefits for the city of employees. Otherwise, they won't want to work here. And they need to, Rosendahl, please try to talk to the other councilmen, especially Garcetti. I'm bringing back our video conferencing because I think there's a lot of people over there in the valley, especially it's needed for the disabled. It was very hard for me to get here. It's hard for the disabled, the sick who have breast cancer, and
Thank
bring
you,
it
Donna,
back.
very much. I appreciate that. Mr. Garcetti.
I think you called on Mr. Walsh, so I'll go after Mr. Walsh. Go ahead.
Well, Mr. Walsh, I don't think you got your card right here right yet. Let me call real quick. Jerry Watson, Dr. Stan Moore, and Stella Harrington.
Good morning, Council.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Good morning. My name is Stella Harrington. I live in the city of Sun Valley, District 6. The reason why we here, because we have more neighbors than they want to speak to, is because we have a meeting with Councilman Cardenas on April in regard to the dark street that we have in Sun Valley. And in the meeting with Councilman Cardenas, he says he found some $400,000 for the new constructions and lights. That was a good meeting for us and for our neighbors because we thought that would be follow-ups, whatever we talk in a meeting. But after that meeting, we didn't see no follow-ups. We didn't see what he said. And the reason why I'm here is because I want you, Councilman, found out what is really happened because nothing being happened while we talk. I do respect you. I believe on your words. And please make it good, those words, because the neighbors, they are very disappointed, nothing being happened. And, when we talk, was in a meeting. You promised also to put more lights on in the empty post, and nothing also happened. Please, it's hard for us to be here, and we don't want to be here, but this is the only way. Then maybe you can give us another meeting and explain us.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cardenas.
Mr. President, thank you very much for coming to council. You're welcome to come to council anytime you want. We've had easily a dozen meetings with you and the community on those matters. I just want to make sure that people watching know that we have given you and your community the respect and attention that you definitely deserve. And yes, it is several $100,000. And yes, we have found some money, and we are planning on putting some street lights. And I apologize if it's not fast enough for you, but I just want to make it very clear that we will continue to meet with you and update you about what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Stan Moore.
Hi.
I'm here today, among other reasons, to praise, not bury, Bill Rosendahl. When Joe Sorrell was alive, he and I, for 30 years, had a postmortem on each election every 2 years. And every 2 years, we would go to Bill and say, Bill, will you moderate 1, 2, 3 panels on this Saturday with 200 to 300 students and faculty at either USC or Loyola? And every time he would answer yes. And I guess most of you did not know that he did that, but I wanted him to know that if Joe were here, he would be with me, and we are very thankful for what you did. The second thing I want to do is I want to praise the City Council for establishing a Save the Southwest Museum Committee. You did it in June. It held its first meeting 1 month ago today, and there hasn't been a second meeting. Everybody from the city who was supposed to be there showed up. There was one group that did not show up, and that was the Autry Museum. And it's hard to have a dialogue when only one party shows up in a conflict. So if any of you have any influence with the Autry, we would ask you to join with the Chief of Staff of the City Attorney in asking the Autry to come to these meetings. But I want to thank you, the City Council, for having established a committee that recognizes that the Southwest Museum is the first museum established in Los Angeles and needs to be saved. So, Bill, thank you, and City Council, thank you.
Jerry Watson, followed by John Walsh.
Good morning. I'm here to address illegal foreclosures. I'm with Occupy Fights Foreclosures, and I've been a recent victim of Gestapo-type tactics with the police department. There's been kind of a different scenario that's going on in terms of the police responding to evictions and foreclosures. They come in sometimes guns drawn, and with strong-arm tactics. And so our desire is to get the City Council to look into the complicit nature in which the police department is cooperating with the banks and the foreclosures mills to eject people from their homes. One of the things that's happening, and there will be some statistics provided from other people coming forward, of I think the youngest victims in terms of statistics is 6 years old that's being displaced from the home in terms of the thousands of people that are losing their homes and that sort of thing. And it's pretty incumbent upon the City Hall and City Council to respond to this latest scourge. I mean, something is happening different because I've been a victim. Police have always responded, but they've never arrested and actually ejected people from their homes using their weapons sometimes and using various scurrilous tactics. So that's what we want to put on the table for you to take notice and to be accountable for the actions of the LAPD.
Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. 1,250,000 successful server requests at September 1st, 2011. The last time I was here was just before the debate. We officially asked Obama and his opponent to debate medical marijuana. They didn't. I think Obama wishes he did anything but what he did. Terrible performance. We now make the official request that the vice presidential election contain the issue of the federal ban on medical marijuana, and the next two debates, the medical marijuana debate, should be on the agenda. What is the mayor worried about? What is the mayor, as you know, is 100% for medical marijuana when somebody gives him a joint. Okay, I'm asking you. In fact, a couple of the people here have smoked medical marijuana with the mayor. Applaud if you smoked medical marijuana with the mayor. And incidentally, as you know, I can prove that the last time I smoked marijuana, Dwight David Eisenhower was president of the United States. I tried it once. I didn't like it. That's the reason I don't smoke it. I tried it once and I didn't like it. That's the reason I have no children. Bill Rosendahl, I'm glad you're back. I understand Flora Kristoff is running. You're going to beat this. You know, in my own neighborhood in the Bronx, in the 50s, you didn't even say the word cancer. It was a forbidden word. We referred to it as the big casino. Did you ever hear of the big casino? That's cancer. You're going to beat it. HollywoodHighlands.org. Let's free the medical marijuana patients during the debates coming up. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to return to the agenda. And prior to that, Mr. Garcetti for an announcement.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I have a very familiar face and a much beloved man who is with me here today, and we have many of his colleagues from the mayor's office here as he transitions in his work from City Hall to outside City Hall. But all of us know him because he's usually running around in these chambers whenever we have Heritage Month. He's out there doing things to serve our constituents. He's a great Angelino and a great American, a great public servant, Jacob Mota. And he's too humble to allow this to be a long presentation, but let me just say a couple things that from his colleagues' co-written resolution here today that we've presented to him. He has distinguished himself as the Associate Director of Neighborhood and Community Services for Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, but he began his career in public service and politics running a state senate campaign in rural Iowa in 2000 when he concurrently fell in love with his future wife, Angela, who happens to work in Council District 13, and later married her in a ceremony in the first and only wedding to take place in the Idaho State Capitol House chambers. He continued fighting the good fight. Get this is not a partisan comment, it's a statement of fact. County coordinator for the small yet feisty Idaho Democratic Party. There are 5 members of this party, ladies and gentlemen. And the Marilyn Howard for State Superintendent for Public Instruction campaign. It's easy to be a Democrat in California. Try being a Democrat in Idaho. Jacob came to the big city from his hometown of Boise, Idaho in 2003 with high career aspirations, and he landed a job in the mayor's office with Mayor Jim Hahn. And he made his family very proud, building up his reputation as a consummate professional. He invaded the West Side in the middle of the night to ensure that the Mar Vista Day of Service and Crack du Soleil would run smoothly, among other events he's done. He single-handedly corralled all of City Hall's LGBT employees for the city's first LGBT Heritage Month celebration. He is leaving the family business and politics to join the other family business in the healthcare industry now. And just what he is leaving behind during his time in office. We all know the most important thing we do is take in a constituent concern. During his time as office of the mayor, he oversaw the constituent services team that recorded 30,760 phone calls, 96,514 letters, petitions, and faxes, 274,133 emails, and 1,356 walk-ins, bringing the total to more than 402,000 constituents served. He completed an all-time high of 35 cultural heritage months, produced 84 individual Heritage Month events, including the opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies, creative writing, and poster contests. He added the American Indian and LGBT Heritage Months to the existing Latino, African American, and API Heritage Months. And he brought holiday cheer to Angelinos. You may not know this, but this is Santa Claus, ladies and gentlemen. This is our City Hall Santa. at all of the Angel City Christmases, the mayor's toy giveaway, etc. And he meticulously kept a Santa appearances calendar and shared the events with his NCS mezzanine colleagues at least once a day. He is as generous in heart as he is passionate in spirit. He will be missed by our great city family, Mayor Villaraigosa's office, Council District 13, all the department employees who have been fortunate enough to work with him as he moves on to share his talent with Kaiser Permanente. We wish you luck moving forward. Thank you, Jacob Mota, for your great service to the people of Los Angeles.
Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Garcetti, Mr. Englander.
Yes, just quickly, I just wanted to say thank you, Jacob. You've been a breath of fresh air here in City Hall, and working with you over the years. I will miss you most, not just as Santa. And when I first saw you in the Santa suit, though, I was a little skeptical because I wasn't sure we had a Santa here in City Hall. So, but you're just an incredible person, and what you've brought to the job. You know, we often talk about the fact that our staff is the most important. Because you guys are the face and the voice of our offices, but what you've done for the city of Los Angeles, for all of us, and working with so many groups and people has been truly refreshing. You set the bar so high for so many and for so long. And I understand and I know firsthand as well what it's like to be an endangered political species, so I commend you on that. But God bless you for everything you've done, and look forward to continuing our family friendships and looking forward to spending a lot of holidays as we have in the past together in the future. Thank you.
A few words, Jake.
Thank you, President. Thank you, council members. I'm really honored to be here, and I want to thank the members. I want to thank my staff for being there to help us, and to my colleagues being there helping me. And I want to also thank the City Council for always working with the Mayor's office when we have Heritage Months, and helping guide us, and really being there for us. And I want to thank everybody. I've had an incredible ride. This is far more than I ever could have imagined. I mean, I always tell people I'm a kid from Boise, Idaho, and so I am honored to stand before this council. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations. You take a shot.
Madam Clerk, let's take up item 6.
Item 6, call special by Councilmember Buscaino.
Okay, Mr. Joey B. Buscaino.
Just want to call the special to register a no vote.
Okay. With that said, no speakers on the queue. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes, 1 no.
Okay. Item 22. I've got cards. Arnold Sachs, John Walsh. Arnold Sachs and John Walsh on item 22.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. This involves community development block grant funds. And it's another program, not quite the same as the redevelopment, but in a similar vein, a large pot of money. The County of Los Angeles, in their 38th Action Year program, rolled over almost $14 million in CDBG funds, unspent funds from the previous year. The city is going to take a $6 million float loan. So the question I really have is, with the county acting to roll over unspent CDBG funds and the city dealing with $6 million, what's the balance that the city has in these funds? Because in essence, this retail project becomes a redevelopment project, maybe not under the same name, but the same vein of moving forward. So you have now CDBG funds. You can check the county record, almost $14 million rolled over. What's the city slice left over? How much is available to the other city districts to use? I hear there's a problem with sidewalks. Can any of this money be used to fund sidewalk repair? You know, I hear there's a problem with trees. Can any of this money be used to trim trees? Not to worry. I know the city council is hard at work. Just ask them. They'll tell everybody they're doing a wonderful job. Or they'll tell everybody that their colleagues are doing a wonderful job. They just don't want to answer the questions when you ask them from this side of the mic.
Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. This is item 22. Most of the people here have gone because they won. The medical marijuana people won, not with a bang, but with a whimper. This concerns the Wesson LaBonge consideration of a motion. It's an excellent motion. You don't do everything wrong, okay? I remember when the street lights in my neighborhood would go out every couple of months when Bradley was mayor. Now that Antonio's mayor, we haven't had the lights burn out once. Every once in a while, you do something good, and that's when you're quiet and listen to every word I say. I just want to say that if you want to learn more about this motion and other things, the Wesson LaBonge motion, go to ronkla.com, go to mulhollanddrive.com, go to mayorsam.com, and you will find out what's happening in the city of Los Angeles. We won today, and anybody, Google anybody but Garcetti for mayor. Thank you. Take the 45 seconds back.
Okay. On this item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now I think we have item 24, which has cards Donna Pearman and John Walsh. Donna Pearman, please come forward.
It looks like we still have redevelopment. It says redevelopment projects, and I'm not sure exactly why we need this Gaffey Street conceptual planning project, especially from the LADOT, which is LADOT might be going on strike and leaving people without transportations on the commuter express. And it doesn't say exactly how much this project is going to cost, where it's going to come from, whether it's come to Quimby Fund. So I don't see, you need to be more open and let people know exactly what these things cost. In the meantime, they took away our Van Nuys video conferencing away. They instead, they rather give it to this redevelopment project. And we can't have the LADOT go on strike because there's plenty of people who are defining it, and we don't even know if it's going to go on strike. And lastly, I want to say only Garcetti for mayor and vote for Alarcon. And I guess that's it. And don't vote for Cardenas. Thank you.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, coalition member of Anybody But Garcetti for mayor, but charter member of only Alarcon for city council. As the racist city council, the racist DA is fighting you. I see Alarcon complaining. You have a racist DA
Stay on topic.
Okay. Okay, I just won't say anything about racism. Okay, incidentally, this is a good issue. You know, this is the way I see it. This concerns Gaffey Street. If there were any problems here, and that's a nice neighborhood, you know, those houses are worth $800–900 million. If there was any problem with this Gaffey Street project, they would be here telling you. So if people want to come up and pick on this Gaffey Street, no. Always go after your enemy at his weakest point. And his weakest point is not Gaffey Street. His weakest point, go to HollywoodHighlands.org and see the weak points of this council. For shame.
Thank you. Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, that brings us to item 7, called special by Mr. Zine.
Well, Mr. President, I've been informed by the General Manager, Mr. Muckery, on this particular matter. I had some questions regarding what testified in committee, and he's clarified the matter. So I will then vote yes on this matter, number 7. He's answered, answered all my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Mr. Muckery's a good man and generally does a good job at answering questions. Mr. Koretz, it's my understanding if you want this to move forward that you'll need to make a motion.
Yes, I thought the need is compelling, and I'd like to move that we move this item forward.
Mr. Labange seconds. Okay, Madam Clerk, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
The ayes have it. Yes, Mr. Labange.
Could that go forthwith?
If you like. Members, we generally wait to the announcement section to have members make statements, but I'd like to ask Bill, Mr. Rosendahl, it's my understanding that you had wanted to address this body briefly, and would you do it now or do you want to do it later?
Sign sits there, Mr. Alacon sits over there.
So he wants Mr. Alacon to get in his seat. So with that said, Mr. Rosendahl, you have our attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First, I want to give you some really good news from a perspective that every human being on the face of this earth would want to have. I was diagnosed with cancer on the 20th of July. Little did I know that it was in my system for a while. We don't know if it was a year or 2 or 3. As many of you know, they did not give me much hope, but I've never given up on hope. I always believe that if you can go forward in a positive spirit, you might be, with the Lord's help, make a difference with your soul and with yourself. Well, I got a call. I got a call from my oncologist last night at about 8:30 in the evening. The Times had already put a scoop in, which I told them not to, but they did until this release was put out. You know, the good news was that Melanie Schramm, an incredible lady who happens to be the oncologist at St. John's that I've been working with, told me that the PET scan and the MRI that I took yesterday had positive results. She said, Bill, I've not seen something like this before, but you're on your way to recovery. Great, everybody. Great. So when she told me that last night, you know, it was hard to go to sleep because that was the best news I've heard, especially when many of you know they had diagnosed it stage 4. And I said, well, we're going to call it stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whatever your numbers are, forget them. We're going to try to make it work. Because if you have hope, you can do anything in life. So first of all, the good news is she gave me hope. The second thing I want to say in a general sense first, before I go into particulars, is, you know, Patrick Soon-Shiong happens to be the guy who donated millions to St. John's. And Patrick is a constituent of mine. And when Tim Lewicki called me and said that punk in Denver that wouldn't come and even visit with us, who does he think he is, had dropped out? Well, I got to tell you, Patrick jumped to the plate. Not only did he say that he would back it up and give Lewicki the support, the financial support and the other support, but I've asked Patrick to try to get 2 new fresh teams. You don't need to steal a team from another city and create a problem. We're LA. We're Southern California. So he's working on the concept of telling these guys that the pot will get bigger when LA participates, and there'll be more than enough money for everybody to share, more than they presently have. So it's his job to work on those other billionaires so they open up a little bit and realize that can be done. So in a general sense, I am going to stay real close with this project until we get those contracts in our hands, because to get 2 teams and have the multiplier effect, the jobs downtown, and everything about downtown will turn into a New York 42nd Street. And that's what we want as a city. So I'm going to stay on that all the way to June 30th, and then I'm going to retire. The next thing I want to say is about, let me just talk about my colleagues first before I go into myself, okay? And that's the most important thing. One of the reasons I was thinking, frankly, of doing a 3rd term was all these young people are coming on the council. They have no idea what their job is. I want to tell you the truth. First, you make laws. 2, you're the link between the constituent and the services. That is a big deal. Herbie's real good at that. He knows how to say this and that. And when they come at him like a crazy mad dog, you can get it done. The link. I have a guy, where's Mark Grant? He's my schmoozer. He schmoozes with these people, and he's able to deliver people and projects on time and under budget. So you need to remember, Englander knows all this. He did that in his district for many, many years. You don't know this, Papa Joe, but you're the link with the bureaucrats. You got to schmooze them, and you got to get them to deliver, okay? And all the new ones coming on need to hear that message, okay? The 3rd thing is land use development. You hear all these people talk about the corruption of the city council, and they're controlled by the lobbyists, and it's all this land use stuff, because they're the ones. Well, when I ran for office, all the land use people saw their worst nightmare. All the independent expenditures were against me, but the people were for me. Why? Because when I won, these developers came into my room. What can I do? What can I do? I said, here's what you can do. You can go back to the immediate neighbors, then go to the homeowner groups, then go to the neighborhood councils, and then come to me. So I must tell you, for the 7.5 years in government, they come to me last. And that's how you get out of this nasty comments about corruption and lobbyists and land. And the 4th thing is, you are the presence of government. Nobody knows an assembly member or a state senator or a member of the House of Representatives. They don't know them, because they're up there. They come back once in a while. But every time I walk into Whole Foods, or I walk into Ralph's, or I walk into Vons, my constituents come up to me. And I do constituent hours all the time. We are the presence of government. Sure, if you're a United States Senator, everybody knows who you are. But frankly, those were the 4 reasons, Mr. President, that I thought a 3rd term would be valuable, so I could help nurture the young ones who don't know what they're getting into in those 4 years. But then along came this cancer, out of the blue. My God, the last thing I expected was that to hit me and knock me down. Well, when she told me last night, hey man, you're on the mend better than ever before, I said to her, not only God bless you and I love you, but I say whoopee-doo and great. Okay, now let me quickly tell my constituents a few things, if I could beg for your indulgence on that. In the Palisades, I'm in the middle of Peturo Canyon, turning that into a passive park. We sold 7 parcels of land. We have another 7 before the Coastal Commission, and another 7 that I expect the council will continue to approve. With that money, we will be opening a passive park up there in the Palisades that everybody in the world can go enjoy. And I'm looking forward to that. And LAPD knows, number 2, that the Marquesa school is not going to get that high energy power station right in their face. I will fight that to the end, that will not go there. I will stay focused on that. Now, let me not be dramatic, but let me be real and talk about a few things as a veteran. Eddie, would you hold this for us? I put this hat on with mixed emotions. Very mixed emotions. Post 283 took a couple of $1 million, and we raised other money, and we opened up a Fisher House for veterans. That's where families of veterans can go visit them. I got no support from other electeds. I can't believe it. None of them have been in the military but me. I mean the supervisor. I mean the member of the House of Representatives. And I got to tell you, including the governor, Arnold, and all these characters. And when the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff would go to the location there in Brentwood, he would come and salute me. And most of the time it was ironic, because I'm openly gay. And they had not done anything for gay people in the military all those years, except Bill Clinton, who did DOMA. That guy's an idiot. What that guy did was make it a crime if I tell the truth. And I live by the truth. I've never lied, and I never will lie. So I never have to worry what I say. But when he did that, after doing nothing for AIDS for 2 years, and my first partner, Christopher Lee Plowman, died, I was standing in front of the White House, and I'm being interviewed by Dee Dee, Press Myers, who was his press secretary. I said, you see this handsome man here? That president ain't focusing on it. He focuses on don't ask, don't tell. Nobody asked him to do that. And when we asked him to do anything about gay rights, he let that thing be a charade. So I am no fan of Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton came to me back when I worked for George McGovern and raised George millions and asked me how to raise money. We had a couple of long meetings, dinners. Billy Clinton went on to be president of the United States. Well, I don't want to get into that nastiness, but I can tell you that when I put this hat on, I think of every soldier, man and woman, that put themselves in harm's way. I think of every soldier that has died, and frankly, I think of those coming back from war that are not connected with the services they should be. It took me years to finally get Henry Waxman and Dianne Feinstein to agree to take one building and renovate it out of 3 that are ready, but no money for the services. So it's a joke. And until we connect the VA with the veterans, we're going to have problems in our streets. And I'm going to stay dedicated to that through the next 8 months. I'm going to continue to fight for more housing for veterans. I opened up the first transitional house for veterans. It's in Delray. First year they protested. Next year they love them. Where are these people going to go? What are we going to do to help these people? And then, it just makes my heart heavy. So when I put the hat on, I think of that property over there in Brentwood is underutilized. We could have a lot more veterans living there. Okay, thank you for that. Now, everybody in the Palisades and Brentwood worries about 2 things: fires and earthquakes. Let's face it, Sullivan Canyon was on fire the other day. Brian Cummings and I are on the phone. The first thing he did was put the full fire company up in Station 69. He was terrific. Second thing he did was bring all kinds of firefighters from everywhere. And I had my contact, Nancy Daly. Remember Nancy Daly? Her daughter Linda lives in that canyon. And Linda was on the phone with me telling me where the firefighters were, what the progress was. I was calling Brian Cummings, and we were right on top of it. So if we have any red flag days, I'm very confident that we'll get a full fire station up in Station 69. And I applaud the fire chief for his leadership on that. Quickly, I want to say the 405. Look, I'm impacted like you would never believe. Okay, first of all, it's kind of poetic justice, because in the 80s, both Henry and Zev had a perfect opportunity, to bring it in, and they didn't. And I don't know why, but I can tell you that the people in Brentwood have suffered a lot since. So what have we done? We were able to get the folks to realize, don't tear down Church Street. Don't tear down that church. Don't tear down half those people that were living in their homes. I won that battle. So we're in the process of making Church Street what it needs to be, and everybody's cooperated on the 405. The Carmageddon, which was Zev's line, was historic and brilliant and had a major impact. The mayor did a major situation on that. And if I could just quickly go to West LA, there's the West LA Charter School, which I did a complete flip on that by getting the local elementary Brockton, their 23 kids are now part of it. So what appeared to be a high-end charter school now allows the local kids in walking distance from that school to be part of the enrollment. That's a game changer. When I talked to the superintendent of school, he said, Bill, you made history here today, what you did by getting the local elementary connected. Right now we're putting up signs, we're working out places that don't impact the community so that everybody has a win-win on that. The next real quickly is the Santa Monica Airport. I have said that airport has to shut down. First of all, the toxicity of my neighbors there, right there in West LA and Mar Vista, there's no buffer. There's no buffer. It's the only airport in America that doesn't have a significant buffer. So we're fighting on that. There's a lot more in Mar Vista. I go to the farmer's market. I love the farmer's market. I do constituent services there. But let me quickly go to Venice, which is a city to itself. You know, we get how many millions of tourists there? 13 to 15 million a year? It's a big deal. I want to get that zip line project in so we can keep the bathrooms clean all day, all night. And that's a partnership with the private sector, with the zipline people. I'm already in the process of creating 20 transitional housing for the folks on 3rd Street. I'm already, with the help of a major developer, building 124 units that most of them will be for extremely low-income seniors, but 30 to 50 will be for homeless folks. 30 to 50 with services. That's incredible. And we're building it with PATH already. And the campers, 100 people from campers are now in housing. And we continue to engage PATH in another project that will open up another 20 units. So when I'm said and done, as I work through my last 8 months, I hope to have roughly 200 people in permanent housing and supportive services that would not be there in Venice. And when it comes to gangs and crimes, I got to tell you, Captain John Peters, Earl Pasinger, and the great Chief Charlie Beck are doing a great job for me. And when Charlie first became the top cop, he came to see me and said, what can I do, Rosendahl, to help you? I said, give me a new chain of command that can work with me and work with my community. He did. And it's been a beautiful relationship that continues to be great. With Delray right next door, not only that transitional housing, but they just opened up their farmer's market. Okay? And there's lots of things in Delray I continue to support. And then you come to the big old Westchester. Well, the streetscape is happening right now along Sepulveda. LAX, I'm staying strong. Modernization, yes. Expansion, no. We want more people in the tower who are certified, and we want to get those runway status lights going forward. And that is happening there. We're also very close with LMU in dealing with the issues of parking and the kids who are freshmen, who live off campus, who are just beginning to know who they are. And when they start partying, our police and their police are working closely so they don't cause big issues in the community like they've done in the past. So LMU is on track, LAX is on track, and I'm just very pleased that the good Lord is bringing me to a better position of strength so that I can take the next 8 months and not only finish the term, but do meaningful things that are in the deepness of my heart. And I just want you all to know, thank you for giving me unlimited time to say what I just said. I know I broke a couple of time records here, but it meant a lot to me. And that first giggle you heard was Mike Bonin. And I don't know how far, Mr. President, I can talk about him. Can I tell him that I can pass the baton to him?
No, I don't think you want to get him off on that, going down that path that way. But we all know that he's a good man. He's been by your side. He knows the ins and outs of city government. He's honest, hardworking. We all know that.
I know. Okay.
So I'll turn it back over to you, but I
must say that's the brilliance of Herbie, wouldn't you say? Now, could I ask my staff to come up to me, be next to me? Because let me say something most importantly about my staff. I've believed all my life to empower people. It's not about me. It's about we. Now, he's used that phrase. I've used that since I was a child. It's about we. We're all in this together. We're one world. We're one connected humanity. And if we take that seriously, and I do, my staff when I ran the cable conglomerate, golly, I had a ton of folks. I had 2,700 employees. I made more money, triple what this money is. This is chicken, compared to what I made. And I had my evenings and weekends off, folks. I mean, it's not like what we do here. But the folks standing right next to me, that's the reason I've been successful the last 8 years. One of my colleagues, when I first was coming into office, said, the most important thing is putting a good staff together. And I'm most grateful, and frankly, I'm going to miss them, but I'll always be in touch. And many of you know I'm coming back, and I'm coming back on national radio and television as a progressive of the Bobby Kennedy era, which was a coalition era, and I'm coming back as somebody who believes that these wars we're doing is an extension of the Cold War to the war on terror, and it's insane how many innocent people we've killed in Iraq and we've killed in Afghanistan. And frankly, that makes me disappointed with our president, who became another hawk and another carrier of a torch, which was the wrong torch. I don't care if it's medical marijuana or it's these foreign wars. So, Mr. President, I will vote for you again, but do me a big favor. Get out of these crazy wars. Stop this war on terror. And for God's sake, provide health care, infrastructure, and education, and bring the middle class back. Well, thank you, colleagues. I love you and bless you all. Great. I just want to acknowledge Nancy Friedman. Nancy, stand up. Nancy is head of the Brentwood Neighborhood Council. Two of my councils, the Palisades and Brentwood, are not affiliated with the city because they think they should have the ability to sue and to ignore the Brown Act. Well, I embrace those two just as much as I embrace the other 6. I embrace anybody who represents people. But Nancy, by your sheer presence, you're acknowledging to me your commitment to this open process that you've done such a great job at. I just want to acknowledge, I know you're grabbing your plane and you're going off to Italy, but God bless you for being here today. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Now, Mr. Zine, please confiscate the microphone from Bill. And Bill, we're going to agendize an item in the future where the members will be afforded the opportunity to talk about what you mean to all of us. But I just had this weird thought. The doctor said you're on the mend, and that's great news. Suppose you wake up and decide you want to run again. You've just pissed off half of the world, all of the people that you'd need help for. So I think focusing on being on a national radio show is the way to go. All right, Bill. Anyway, God bless you, and we all love you. And thank you for last week. Thank you for last week coming in. All right, members, we're going to go to try to complete general public comment. I think this is Maria Angelina Morez, Maria Valencia, Mervyn Evans, come on forward. Sherry Hernandez, just come on forward. Get to the mic first, Mervyn.
Okay.
One second, Mr. Englander.
Sorry, just housekeeping. Can I get 12 forthwith, please?
In fact, that and 11 forthwith.
Sorry,
yes, Mr. Evans.
Mr. President, Mr. Wesson, I need you to do me a personal favor. I want you to call the governor and say, Governor, suspend 52 cents of taxes in the gas tank. Suspend the 52 cents that you're taking out of every single gallon of gas. Drive the price of gas down for the next 30 days until Oakland comes back online, until Torrance comes back online, until the pipeline gets clean of the, Oxycontin or whatever it's got in it. All right. But I'm asking you, Mr. Wesson, because you are the most outstanding public policy maker we have in all of Southern California. And I know the governor has tremendous respect for you. I want you to make a call to the governor and say, Governor, cut that 52 cents out of gasoline. Everybody else, you can visit my website, mervynevans.com. click the button that says letter to the governor, sign it and mail it to him or fax it to him. But we need to do something about that gas tank right now. And I know that there's only one person in all of Southern California, when you pick up the phone and you call the governor, he gets to dancing, and that's you, Mr. Wesson. Merv Evans, please visit the website, mervinevans.com, and get your letter and send it in to the governor and say, cut that 52 cents off for a few months. Thank you.
Thank you, Merv. And hey, Daniel, I do have your card. I'm going to call you after these two young ladies. Yes.
Buenos días o buenas tardes, no sé qué hoy son. Pero yo vengo de la parte de Sun Valley.
Good morning or good afternoon. I come from Sun Valley.
Por un proyecto que nos prometió Cárdenas.
I come because of a project that was promised by Mr. Cárdenas.
Para las luces de nuestra comunidad, porque está muy oscuro, son como seis cuadras.
Yeah, the project has to do with lights for 6 blocks that are very dark.
Es oscuro, hay mucho vandalismo, no puede salir uno.
It's dark, there is a lot of vandalism and we cannot go out.
Nos dijeron que el proyecto que nos iban a dar tenían 400.
They told us that they had $400,000 for the project.
Que nos costaba 70 al año.
That it was going to cost 70 a year.
Después su secretaria o la supervisora pasaba de domicilio en domicilio diciendo que nos iba a costar de 300 a 400, perdón, $10,000.
Afterwards, the supervisor went door by door and told us that it was going to cost us $10,000.
Después nos dijeron que nos va a costar de 300 a 400.
Afterwards, they said that it was going to cost between 300,000 to 400,000.
No es justo porque nosotros estamos pagando nuestros taxes para ayuda del pueblo, para nosotros, no para toda la vecindad, y nos prometan agua y nos den aire.
It's not fair that we are paying our taxes to provide services for the neighborhood, and then that they promise us water and at the end they give us air.
Queremos acción, no queremos promesas.
We want action, not promises.
Queremos palabra y correctas y no queremos papelitos, ya mucha basura tenemos en casa.
Yeah, we want just the correct words. We don't want any more garbage. We have enough at home.
Queremos, por favor, que así como nosotros votamos y ellos piden el voto de nosotros para ellos subir el escalón, que ellos prometan lo que nos prometen.
Yeah,
o sea, que nos cumplan lo que nos prometen.
Yeah, the same way that they ask for our vote to go up the stairs, we want the same way back. We want them to comply with what they promised to us.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Mr. Cardenas.
A point of personal privilege again. This is the same group of people that my staff have been meeting with, and due to the fact that the person's claiming that the city owes them these lights or what have you, the process in the city of Los Angeles is that if somebody wants street lights on a street where there are no streets, the properties are assessed after a vote of that community. I was kind enough to let the people know that I would try my best to try to get them lights without them having to pay and be assessed for the installation of those lights. And we are still in progress of making that happen. Thank you.
Next.
Muchas gracias. Buenos días.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Yo soy María Valencia y vengo representando también la área allí de Sun Valley porque no es por un lujo que queramos tener luz.
My name is Maria Valencia and I also come to represent the area in Sun Valley, and it's not because we want luxury, it's not because of luxury that we want to have light.
El problema que vinimos es que habíamos hecho una reunión, nos reunimos con la supervisora de allí del señor Tony Cárdenas.
Yeah, the problem that we had is we had a meeting with Mr. Cárdenas, Tony Cárdenas, supervisor.
Entonces ya no nos recibió muy bien, ya fue cortante, Entonces ya luego hicimos otra reunión, nos reunimos que iban a ir y ya dijeron que nunca llegaron a la reunión.
Yeah, she didn't receive us that well. She was kind of rude. And then they planned to have another meeting and they never came to the meeting.
Esa es por la razón que venimos aquí, a ver si nos escuchaban, porque queremos que a ver si nos pueden cumplir lo que nos prometieron.
That is why we are here. We want to be heard and we want to see if you can comply with what you promise.
Y gracias. Y quiero que el señor Tony Cárdenas, ese apelativo que tiene, que suba muy alto, que se acuerde de dónde viene, de Lázaro Cárdenas, que él hizo mucho por su gente y por sus pobres.
Yeah, I want Mr. Cárdenas, when he goes very, very high, to remember where he came from, because Lázaro Cárdenas made so much for his people.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Before I call on Mr. Cardenas, the one thing that I can say, Mr. Cardenas will never forget where he's come from. He's a hardworking man from a large family that came here with nothing, and now they're sending a son to the United States Congress. Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Again, point of personal privilege. Thank you for that compliment. I hope and I expect that I'll never forget where I came from. But at the same time, once again, this is the same issue with the same community of which my staff and I have had various meetings with them. We are working on getting them the lights. I would like to point out, with all due respect, nobody has accused this community of asking for a luxury. But the lady brought it up that they're not asking for luxury. You're absolutely right. You're not asking for luxury, but at the same time, you're asking for something that every other community in Los Angeles has to pay for. And I'm going out of my way to get you what you want to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars without you having to pay for it. So that is a converse of luxury. That is something that hopefully when we get it done, you'll appreciate. Thank you.
Okay, I think I called Ms. Hernandez and then my friend Daniel Gus. Ms. Hernandez, are you?
First, I just want to say how much I appreciated Mr. Rosenthal's speech about community. And that's what I'm here to speak on this morning is community. We have a problem going on in our country, in this state that's huge, and in our community of Los Angeles with regard to foreclosures. There is no question that there is fraud involved. We have an $8.68 billion settlement from Countrywide for the state of California on October of 2006, and the home buyers have yet to have any relief. We have another settlement of a lawsuit with Countrywide on 2010 with the New York Pension Fund. Again, the home buyers have yet to have any relief. We have another lawsuit settled with the executives of Countrywide for $67.5 million with the state of California. Again, the home buyers have yet to have relief. In fact, we're getting foreclosed on. And on 2011, that was the Countrywide settlement, the Attorney General sent out the B of A settled 22 with $14 billion for the home buyers. Again, home buyers no relief. Class action for home buyers, the Countrywide home buyers no relief. $335,000 for the minority home buyers no relief. The FBI has reported that the fraud is prevalent within the industry insiders, and still the home buyers have no relief. And from a report from PennyMac, they said, they have just recently said, and PennyMac is made up of Countrywide executives that reopened under another name. And they just said there's $15 billion to $20 billion in distressed home loans that have already been identified by marked participants for the following year. This is something serious. This is going to affect all of our income, and we need to do something.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Followed by Arnold. Mr. Sachs? Okay. Yes, Daniel.
Good morning. I hope you'll consider going back to calling all public comment at once, because when you break it up like this, we can't get to the meetings upstairs where actual votes are being taken.
Hold Daniel's time. Daniel, I'm darned if I do, and I'm darned if I don't. So I tried it to slip the public comment in and get as much of it done as possible.
Yeah.
But it is listed as now the last thing on the agenda.
Right, thank
So
you.
Anyway, your time, start all over.
Thank you again. I appreciate that, and I understand the reasoning. This morning at Animal Services was going to talk about a counterproductive and illegal process. Animal Services is considering releasing thousands of healthy and intact animals, contrary to state law. State law requires that if an animal is healthy, they cannot be released from the shelter intact. They have to be spayed, they have to be neutered, unless the animal is unhealthy. Brenda Barnett is trying to convince the Animal Services Commission this morning to release intact animals, and it is a violation of the law. I ask City Council and the Paws Committee members to please look into this, because there is a spay-neuter trust fund that is supposed to be used for this. It's supposed to have upwards of $1 million. That's a whole heck of a lot of spay-neuter surgeries. If we're not performing the spay-neuters, it's illegal. We have the money to do it. It is dangerous not to spay and neuter the animals before releasing them. I guess since the city can't figure out how to track the D300 forms, which is for the sick animals to make sure that they're spayed and neutered later, how in the world are we going to get the staffing or the money to pay for tracking these healthy and intact animals that shouldn't be released, and the fact that it's illegal? This is arguably the dumbest idea since Ed Boakes was GM. It is against the law to let go for these city shelter animals, intact, healthy animals. And I'd like to know why we're not using the Spay-Neuter Trust Fund. In fact, who's going to donate to a Spay-Neuter Trust Fund if the funds aren't being used for the things that they're set aside for? It's really bad. I hope Mr. Koretz, Mr. Cardenas, Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Zine, Ms. Perry, I hope you all look into this to find out why we're breaking state law. It's out of control, and I can't imagine why this is happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel, and sorry you had to wait. Arnold, followed by Dejay Kuti.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. I am very sorry to have missed all the celebrations last week and all the great announcements, the AEG deal that went through. So, by the way, which deal was it? Was it the deal brokered by the City Council and its representatives, or the mayor's deal? You know that he was having discussions with them. We don't know. Good thing that when you decided to get into these negotiations last year, you had a non-binding MOU. You can reiterate what that would be, Mr. City Attorney, the difference between binding MOU and non-binding MOU? That means whatever the mayor's agreement is could be included for AEG. But it's a wonderful thing. It's a set of unfortunate circumstances about the breakdown with the zoo and the discussions regarding the privatization, public-private. But who in the hell was supposed to know that little stumbling block about the city charter and the oversight of city employees? And how much did it cost for those negotiations that probably started last year and have gone a good 7 months at least? We know that it cost $2 million to clean up the city park from the people that occupy LA. And we know that $21,000 is too much to spend for the facilities in Van Nuys. So how much did it cost for this negotiations? How much did the city spend on negotiations regarding the zoo before somebody discovered this fact that, you know, we have an item in the city charter that doesn't allow city employees to be overseen by an outside company? Who would have known that? And now,
thank you.
Tomorrow we'll do the airport.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Kuti, followed by Doris Douglas, Lydia Breen, and Ruth Cernoff.
Good morning. Thank you, Council. This weekend, my organization, I'm Dejay Kuti with Patient Advocacy Network, CannabisSavesLives.org. My home and my office is in Central Hollywood. And this weekend, my organization had the privilege of teaming up with Club Kush Media, and they held an event for patient advocates here in the city of Los Angeles. And we thought it would be very, very important to, of course, honor Bill Rosendahl at this event. We begged him not to come because we know of his health, and we told him we'd be happy to give these awards to him at another time. But sure enough, on Sunday, he came and gave the most passionate speech you could imagine. But what I wanted to do is, for the rest of you, is read these wonderful awards that he received. We had a representative from San Francisco come and present him an award from the Harvey Milk Democratic Club from the city of San Francisco. It says, City Council Bill Rosendahl, we want to reach out personally and thank you for taking a stand and helping to promote safe access to patients. By using your voice and personal story, you have helped to challenge unproductive bans that cause people to suffer from pain to go without their medical needs being met. Poor drug policy has broken apart the community of people of color, created vast recidivism, and the war on drugs has proven a complete failure. Thank you for bringing us one step closer to justice for patients, our communities, and your city of Los Angeles. We look forward to fighting by your side, albeit from San Francisco, and creating a future where safe access and medicine is no longer denied to those who need it. As president of the Harvey Milk LBG Club and a member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, we continue to speak out for the need of medical cannabis in every community. Keep up the amazing work, and thank you for leading with a true voice and a brave heart. And it's signed by the president of the Harvey Milk Club, Glendon Hyde, and by San Francisco Board of Supervisors, 9th District Supervisor David Campos. Here in the city of Los Angeles, we also presented him an award for his endless courage and strength, his boundless compassion and care for others, his dedication to public service, and for breaking the stigma and bravely speaking out on social rights issues, including the legalization of medical cannabis. I'll be taking this to his office. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Doris Douglas, Lydia Breen, Ruth Sarnoff. Yes, Ms. Douglas.
Yes, Mr. President, I am a victim of illegal foreclosure. I was in your district in Lafayette Square, and on August 22nd of this year, I was assaulted by one of the goons who, while I was trying to protect my property, and I was assaulted by one of the broker's goons who came there to steal my property. I had been evicted, but I was still protecting what I thought I could save. Nevertheless, I called the police, and I was dissuaded not to file a battery against him, and they let the man leave. He hit me with a chair. I'm 66 years old. I'm a mother, a grandmother. And I don't understand why this man wasn't arrested on the scene. I did not attack him, he attacked me. And on this day, I've gone to the LAPD at the Wilshire District, which you know, and still, he hasn't been arrested. I want to go to the city attorney, to the attorney general, because we, as people who are being evicted, are treated like criminals. I've never been arrested. I am not a criminal. And I just can't stand this anymore. I care for two parents. One, a veteran of these United States, and my mother. And she just died in April. She didn't die because she was sick. She died of a broken heart, threatening to be evicted from her home. It's enough. And you guys don't seem to understand. This is the face. This is the face. I look okay today. I went to emergency. My blood pressure is normally 110/80. I'm in excellent health until this man I see every night coming at me with a chair.
Could you please speak to this gentleman over here to the right? I want to get particulars where it relates to the assault. Okay, Ms. Breen.
My name is Lydia Breen. I'm a member of Occupy Fights Foreclosures. I'm also an evacuee from Hurricane Katrina. After the hurricane, I co-wrote a documentary about the occupation of a historically black Catholic church in the Tremaine neighborhood of New Orleans. I watched what happens after disaster. I learned what happens after disaster hits vulnerable people and it prevents them from rebuilding their homes, their lives, and their neighborhoods. I see parallels between Katrina and the foreclosure crisis in New Orleans, where houses sit empty, where old people die alone as cohesion in neighborhoods erode. I see elected officials stick their heads in the sand and ignore the problems. I see members of the police and sheriff's department abuse their authority and allow their prejudices to go unchecked. Prejudices against minorities and foreclosed homeowners who are treated like criminals and freeloaders. Last week, I saw a police supervisor leave the scene of an eviction and say, "Another one down," as if she were on a personal crusade. Earlier this year, another incident that bore the hallmarks of a personal crusade. A mother defending her home against wrongful foreclosure was arrested, then deported, leaving 2 young children, both citizens, behind. A police officer in another incident said to an African American woman, "What made you think that you belonged in this neighborhood?" Another police officer told the child of a homeowner fighting eviction, "Your mother's going to jail." What's happening to Los Angeles? It's time to put an end to fraudulent practices by banks, bank managers, realtors, and attorneys. Put an end to the prejudices of police officers and sheriff's deputies. We call on a foreclosure.
Thank you. Ruth Surnoff, followed by Diana Hines or Diana Hires, followed by a Medlock. I can't make out the first name. Yes, Ms. Sarnoff.
Ruth Sarnoff. I think we're about ready to go off of the fraud evidence cliff. Maybe they'll coin a new word here. We always have cliffs we're about ready to fall off of. In the month of October, there were 4,439 default properties, notice of default, 4,158 trustee sales foreclosed on, and 3,734 bank-owned buybacks. The average age of the homeless person in Los Angeles is 6 years old. There's a link, there's a website, www.opednews.com. Again, www.opednews.com, which has links to public websites, that is governmental websites for, will give you a lot of other information about fraudulent loans and foreclosure. I want to speak specifically to the needs of renters and single struggling moms here, of the homeless who are multiplying in numbers, and they're harder to count now because they're everywhere in every single community. And I think it's time to deal with that. I asked for time for Richard Cataldo. He was a victim of the Columbine shooting. I am hoping that he will be called for 2 minutes. He came here.
I intend on calling him.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Do we have Ms. Hines or Hires, Diana? And then Richard, why don't you follow? Yes. And if we could get a portable mic from Richard. Yes.
Okay. Good morning, members of the City Council. My name is Diana Hines, and I'm a professor at Cal State University, Long Beach. And I'm speaking on behalf of homeowners in the city of Los Angeles who have lost their homes to fraudulent foreclosures, and those who are set to lose their homes once again to fraudulent foreclosures. My house is going to be auctioned off November 5th. But even as I say this, I have to say that it's really not my house. It's the house that my father helped to build. My dad was a merchant marine and a dock worker. Through most of my childhood, he worked right out here in San Pedro. And his life gave me a living example of the way to be. He worked hard. He made sure we understood the importance of personal integrity and citizenship. Then when he died, my husband and I had a little chunk of money to put a down payment on a house through a loan with Countrywide. We paid faithfully on it for 8 years, and when my husband's when his employment slowed down, I could see that later down the line we would need to work out some sort of loan modification. When I sought a modification, I was told that in order to qualify, I had to skip a loan payment. I really didn't know that this advice would send us off on a runaway train to foreclosure, but it did. Now, the house that my father made possible through his integrity and his work ethic is being grabbed away by Bank of America. And I have evidence that this is a fraudulent foreclosure. I have evidence of dual tracking, that the bank simultaneously promises to modify your loan and put your house into foreclosure. I have evidence of broken chains of title that were not recorded as my loan flipped out on the stock market. I have evidence of suspected robo-signers. What are you going to do about this?
Thank you. Mr. Richard Cataldo, followed by Medlock and a Carlos Mataquin.
Hi. Okay, my name is Richard Castaldo, actually. I'm also here with Occupy, Fights for Closures. I don't have a notice of sale yet. I got a notice of default a couple months ago, and, you know, I have all this, you know, MERS and LIBOR and all this stuff on my mortgage, and, you know, I have Wells Fargo, and I know they're the ones that got bailed out. I know, you know, to echo what Mr. Rosendahl said, I think it's kind of crazy we're spending all this money on wars and bailouts, and, you know, Ben Bernanke just announced that QE3 deal, and that seems like none of that ever trickles down to homeowners, and I think it's, you know, kind of disgusting how they get handed pretty much all these benefits are kind of in bed with the government, and it doesn't ever trickle down to homeowners. And, you know, there's, you know, thousands of people getting foreclosed on left and right every day, and thousands in October alone. I just think the system needs to be more equal. And, you know, I think, you know, you guys need to take this seriously. I just, you can't have people, I don't think the city can afford more homeless people, so I think if you want to keep people in their houses, it would help the city out too. And, you know, I think we need to put a moratorium on foreclosures for a while, so at least all the fraud and all this stuff can be settled. I'm actually a constituent of Mr. Garcetti, and I understand you're running for mayor, and, you know, I think this is an important issue you need to take seriously. I think that would probably help your campaign out a lot, frankly. And I don't know, that's all I really have to say. Just, you know, do something about this now, because it's very urgent. And thanks for the time.
You're welcome, sir. Mr. Garcetti, is your name on the queue?
Just briefly, I know with the city attorney, I'm explaining the rules, so this shouldn't be on my count. We can't respond in a long time when it's not agendized, because the state has a rule that everybody needs to be noticed if something is going to be officially discussed. But let me unofficially give you just, and as folks have come forward, and we've been very supportive of Occupy fighting foreclosure, we have collectively and individually taken a lot of individual cases. In my own district, over a dozen. We've been able to renegotiate. Beforehand, we set up a nationwide hotline that's basically saved $500 million of homes and 100,000 families. It came out of L.A. It doesn't just serve L.A., but for folks you know who are there, we can get an advocate banker to talk with your banker at the same time. And we also passed the first in the nation legislation that is resulted in the lawsuits that the city attorney's office has taken. So when you're asking what can you do when you have the pattern of crime, what we've done in my office is pass those cases on. So for the woman in CD15, for instance, in the San Pedro area who has that, share that with us. We pass those on to the city attorney. Already 2 different banks have been sued by this city specifically for their criminal activity based on legislation we wrote in here. So I want you to say, I know there's always more, we should always be listening, I appreciate you all being here, but also if it's the first time you're here, know those efforts, and we've worked with many folks who've been involved with this to make sure that those efforts can move forward, and please make sure you share with your council members those specific cases, and we'll be happy to, as we always have been, pick up the phone and save homes, pick up the phone and look at where there's criminal activity and refer that to the city attorney, which has resulted right now with Deutsche Bank and U.S. Bank already in lawsuits that are in court right now from the people of Los Angeles on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Okay, do we have a medlock? Dolly, I think it could be Carlos. Carlos Mariquin, followed by Marlon or Marion. So if you could all come up and get in the line. Go on, Ms. Medlock.
I'd like to say good morning, first of all, in addressing the City Council. And I'd like to please ask for everyone's attention. Some of you look a little distracted and a little busy. This is a 911 emergency. It is an epidemic going on with foreclosure fraud that is being overlooked in the city of Los Angeles and in the state of California. I am here with Occupy Fights Foreclosure. We are asking City Council to take this to the state legislation and ask for a moratorium on foreclosures. Our neighboring state, Nevada, has already done this. They have stopped their foreclosures by 97%. We have one of the highest rate of foreclosures, just as well as Nevada did. 1 in 4 people in California are facing foreclosures or are already in foreclosures, and it seems that everyone is turning a blind eye to this and no one is doing anything about it. The average person that is caused to be homeless because of foreclosure is the age of 6. I think that is appalling. I think as state legislation, as city councils, we need to do more about this. Occupy Fights Foreclosures meets twice a week to fight this. We feel that city council needs to get more involved with this. We also want to enforce a moratorium. I see that Garcetti says that he has helped X amount of people. That is less than 2% of the people in the state of California. If you were to enforce a moratorium, then you would be helping at least 97 to 92% in the state of California. Again, this is fraud we're dealing with. We're asking for the people that have been fraudulent, put into different loans, to ask for help. We're not asking for help for people that were doing something wrong. We're asking for help for people that were taken advantage of. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Carlos Mariquin, followed by either Marlon or Marion. Marion? Marlon? Are you here, Marilyn? Marlon? Okay, go on, Carlos.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Carlos Mariquin. First of all, I want to thank the City Council for paying attention to what's going on with foreclosures. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on throughout the city, but one of the things that I call to your attention again is foreclosures. We know that it continues to happen. We know also that in the next 3 months, prior to the Homeowners Bill of Rights coming into effect, banks are being very aggressively into taking people's homes. This is why we're here, because now we are seeing a big pattern of banks coming after homeowners. Bank abuses continue to increase. Case in point, we have a family in East LA that was foreclosed, that was actually evicted by the Sheriff's Department, and it was the wrong house. We are going to be occupying that home. We are going to be sending a message not only to the city, but to the entire nation that this is not acceptable. We are seeing many cases of people coming to us as their last hope. Occupy Fights Foreclosures have been working with families here in Los Angeles and abroad because no one else is doing this. We don't see any other groups getting involved with foreclosures. We take cases from people that have absolutely no means to get help, absolutely no resources, and we have managed to keep them in their homes by fighting the banks. We ask the City Council for their support, and we ask again for you to be a little more involved with foreclosures. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Madam, that City Attorney, that closes general public comment. Madam Clerk, what's before this body?
Council has motions for posted and referral.
They're posted and referral.
That clears the desk.
Okay, members' announcements. Okay, could everybody please rise for adjourning motions? Everybody please rise. In fact, Joe, I will call on you, but I have one adjourning motion of a very, very dear friend, a man that I love very much, a great man, a man that the mayor is going to allow us to lower our flags today. And that's former assembly person, former senator, former lieutenant governor, former congressman, and former assemblyman, again, Mervyn Dimely. Mervyn Dimely fought hard for civil rights and human rights. And he was a mentor to so many elected officials. I mean, he opened the door for many. In fact, to my friend Mr. Cardenas, Mr. Dimely was one of the first African Americans to reach out to Latinos to get them engaged and involved in politics. He was 86 years old. His mind was still sharp as a tack. I met with him as late as August, and I just want to share one quick story with you, one that I think Mr. Koretz can remember. When I was Speaker of the Assembly, I had a rowdy group within the Assembly that did not want to vote for a budget bill. So I decided to lock everyone up in the council chambers, very similar to this, but I wouldn't let them go to their offices. They had to stay there. Now, for me, I had a nice, luxurious office with a shower connected to the floor, so I could go in and out, and I had some comfort. I go up to Mr. Dimely, who was about 77 at the time, and I said, look, I'm going to let you go because I know you take medication and whatever. He said, no, I'm going to stay with my colleagues. And I saw that man sleep on a tiny chair for about 8.5 hours, but he stayed with all the other assembly members. He will surely be missed. I know for me personally, he was a very dear friend, and I know he was very, very proud of me. So I'd like, without a doubt, all members, and I would request that every member on this council that served in Sacramento be a signature on this adjourning motion. I think his family would consider that appropriate. And Mr. City Attorney, is there some way that I could add the mayor to this? Sign it as well. Anyway, I'm going to leave that up to you, and you make sure it happens. Mr. Buscaino.
I think he wanted Mr. Dimely.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Cardenas. I didn't see your hand. Yes.
Mr. Dimely, I think it's important for those watching, especially those young people watching, to remind the young people that when we hear of the passing of someone like Merv Dimely broke barriers when the climate and the animus toward people who tried to break barriers was, thank God, only imaginable to our young people. Our young people don't realize the racism and the animus and the anger and the actions that were taken toward people because they chose to handle themselves as equals and to not challenge the system, but just do as they had the right to do, which is run for office, like Merv Dimely did. And he became the first person of color that I'm aware of to hold statewide office in the state of California for at least over 100+ years. So I just wanted to emphasize that he was a very respectful man, as the president pointed out, but also in some ways much more quiet than you would imagine when you think about the barriers that he broke just by being the good human being that he was and will always be remembered to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Buscaino. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Mr. Koretz.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as a teenager, I worked on Merv Dymely's campaign a little bit when he ran for lieutenant governor, but I didn't really get to know him until I served with him in the state assembly. And the thing that stood out the most wasn't just his great accomplishments over the years and great legislative accomplishments. I thought he would be more ego-driven. I thought he would think more highly of himself, but he seemed to be very humble, just a nice guy, very easy to work with. And you never for a second would have thought, wow, this guy was lieutenant governor, the first African-American lieutenant governor in the 70s, when that seemed almost impossible. He was just a great guy to work with, and never lost his progressive ideals, which sometimes was difficult in the state legislature. Not as easy a place to get through progressive legislation as one might have thought by the number of Democrats in the legislature. So it was just great to serve with him. He was just a hell of a nice guy, very sharp, very dedicated, and he'll be sorely missed.
Councilman Corretz, Councilman Alarcon.
Yes, I just want to join in the chorus of people who served in the legislature with Merv Dymely. Truly a gentleman of politics, one of the last true gentlemen of politics. And he was a very progressive, yet very deliberate and thoughtful and articulate representative of the people. And I believe that's why he became the first African-American lieutenant governor of the state of California. I think we need to give a shout out to his country, I need some help with that. I believe it was either Trinidad or Belize, but he is probably became the highest ranking person. I'm sure Herb knows, but he became the highest ranking person in government in the country from that particular country. And I apologize for not remembering which country it was. Maybe somebody can Google it and we'll say it at some point. But truly a kind and very dedicated servant of the people. Didn't have to come back to office, having served as lieutenant governor, but he felt he had more to give, and so he gave it, and he will be truly missed. And I would only say that I wish in this cynical world that continues to grow, I wish more people would learn more about the people like Merv Dymely, who truly understood politics. It was a vigorous fight, but it could be done in a respectful way.
Thank you, Councilman Alarcon.
And Mr. Buscaino, who Googled it, reminds me that it was Trinidad. I think I was the first to propose that he become the ambassador to Trinidad, but that was well on in his years.
Thank you, Councilman Alarcon. Councilman Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to join with my current colleagues and fellow former colleagues from the legislature. The first day that any of us ever walked into the state capitol, you get really overwhelmed by the sense of history and responsibility that's there walking into that building. But when I walked in and sat down on the assembly floor, really the sense of history came from counting as one of my colleagues, Merv Dymely, somebody who had been such a giant in the history of this state and really a leader in the advancement of African American empowerment nationally. And so it really is an important moment for us to take to remember his accomplishments and how much of a legacy he's left to all of us in California who have followed in his footsteps.
Thank you, council members. Any other adjourning motions? Councilor Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Colleagues, today I'd like to adjourn in memory of Leon Hewitt Calloway, Jr. Leon passed away peacefully at his home on September 26. Leon's grandparents were one of the first Norwegian families to settle in San Pedro in the early 1800s. Born in 1943, Leon was raised and spent his whole life in San Pedro. He was a talented and gentle individual, respected and loved by all who knew him. Leon worked many, many years at the Port of Los Angeles as an inspector. He also spent many years working as a commercial photographer. He was known as Mr. Old Time San Pedro due to the vast amounts of old photos in his collection. He is survived by his sister Jean Caroline Calloway, his daughter Amin Noel Calloway, and his wife Mary. May he rest in peace. Leon was my neighbor who was not bashful to knock on my door and share his congratulations to me in office, and also share with me on his disagreements and how the city is run. And most importantly, I am proud of my kids who, during his illness, he was at home. Each morning, every time we walked to school, Gia and Mateo would have a piece of artwork that they would just put in his mailbox to cheer him up. So, Leon, may you rest in peace. We love you, and to his family, our thoughts and prayers continue to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cuscaino. Councilor Labange.
For those of us who grew up in Los Angeles, Sheriff John Rovick, KTTV, which is now Fox, he was the announcer when they had television announcers on television, but he also ran the afternoon cartoon show and was part of LA history. He lived well into his 90s, and he died in Idaho. He's survived by his wife and 3 daughters. Sheriff John Rovick, a TV personality. Raise your hands if you remember Sheriff John at all right here. And so anytime you have a birthday, put another candle on your birthday cake, your birthday cake, your birthday cake. Put another candle on your birthday cake. You're another year old today. And well, that's Sheriff John. God bless him and in memory well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Labange. Any other adjourning motions? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.